Your relationships may be leading to an early death. Welcome to Change the Conversation with the Hopefulist. My name is Wendy McClure, and it's time we had a conversation about living in a patriarchy and how that affects our lives. Together, we can make a difference and change the conversation. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your being here, and hopefully we all together can try to change the conversation. Today I wanted to talk about how the way that women act, the way that women are conditioned and trained to be, is literally making us sick. Yes, sick. There is an article that came out recently in Time magazine that says self-silencing is making women sick. Now, I'm going to read parts of this article for you, but I do encourage you to go and read the entire thing. Now, the article explains about how women account for almost 80% of autoimmune diseases. They are at a higher risk of suffering from chronic pain, insomnia, hello, that's me, fibromyalgia, long COVID, had that as well, irritable bowel syndrome, and migraines, and are twice as likely as men to die after a heart attack. Women experience depression, anxiety, PTSD at twice the rate of men, and face a 9-fold higher prevalence of anorexia, which is the deadliest mental health disorder. So why is it that women are falling ill to these diseases at a rate so much higher than men? Well, these jarring disparities cannot be accounted for by just genetics and hormonal factors. Psychological factors play an important role as well. And specifically, it seems that the very virtues of our culture rewards in women, how we encourage women and train women to be agreeable, show extreme selflessness, and suppress anger at all costs, may predispose us to chronic illness and disease. And if you think about this, it really just makes a whole lot of sense. There has been considerable evidence that has revealed that female self-silencing isn't just tied to psychological issues like depression and eating disorders, but also to physical illness. For instance, in March of 2022, a team of researchers at the University of Pittsburgh discovered that women of color who strongly agreed with statements like, "I rarely express my anger to those close to me," were 70% more likely to experience a higher likelihood of this plaque that is associated with a higher risk of heart attack. Other studies have connected self-silencing to irritable bowel syndrome, HIV, chronic fatigue syndrome, and cancer. Most jarringly, women's self-silencing has also been linked to a higher risk of premature death. In one study, researchers followed nearly 4,000 people in Framingham, Massachusetts, over 10 years. They found that women who didn't express themselves when they had fights with their spouses were 4 times more likely to die than those who did. This was even true when factors such as age, blood pressure, smoking, and levels of cholesterol were taken into account. So when women push their feelings down and cast their needs aside, their health suffers. But it can be very difficult for women to do otherwise, and in a culture that celebrates these self-silencing practices. Now, young women, we know, are praised for being chill. Moms are known for being neurotic. And these unspoken standards establish a vicious cycle. For many women, it feels easier, beneficial even, to silence their needs at the expense of their own health rather than swim against the prevailing cultural current. And this, my friends, is exactly why I do this podcast, why I speak out the way that I do. because women are trying to fit into this role that has been created for us for so long, and it's doing nothing but making us unhappy and sick on top of it. So it's time to change the system because it's not working for us women. It's not working for us women. Now, in his best-selling book, The Myth of Normal, which I have, and I've read a good part of, I have put it down, and now that this has reminded me, I'm going to go pick it up again. It is fascinating reading. Fascinating reading. The Myth of Normal by physician Gabor Mate. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name. He is foreign, but that's how it's spelled. He says that many of our society's most normalized ways of being, the qualities we regard as admirable strengths rather than potential liabilities, are in fact incredibly toxic. The not listening to self in order to prioritize others' needs is a significant source of the health impairing roles women assume. He says it's among the medically overlooked but very high likely ways in which society's normal imposes a major health cost on women. Now think about this for a second. Women are known to take self-medicating, to do self-medicating, to take medication for depression, for anxiety, myself included. And instead of saying, wow, why is it that so many women are needing medication to just get them through the day? Instead of asking that question, women are just judged for it. Prozac Nation. Yeah, why do you think that is? Because women are overwhelmed. We're exhausted. We're feeling deflated and defeated because no matter what we do, it's not enough and it's not good enough. And there's only so long that you can live that type of judgment and constantly fail without it seeming that it's never going to get any better. And the only way it will get better is for women to start speaking out and saying, the system is wrong. The reason women are more depressed than men is because women have more expectations on them. That men just sail through life. That's why they don't have as much anxiety and depression as we do. They get up, they go to work, they come home, they do what their appointed job is, and then they typically, sit in front of the TV, watch TV for the rest of the night, what have you. Women are constantly working, constantly, when it comes to the kids and cleaning up around the house and making doctor's appointments and dealing with the sports schedules and making plans and planning vacations and making sure that the husband gets to the doctor when he's supposed to get to the doctor. It's never ending. It's never ending. So it seems that the virtues of womanhood are not really virtuous at all. Instead, they're wreaking havoc on our bodies and our health. And the way they often do so is through these seemingly normal daily experiences that slowly, over time, chip away at our vitality and erode our well-being. This author goes on to say, my clients tell me things like, I don't deserve to put my needs first. I'm not the breadwinner. Or say, yes, I did say yes, even though I didn't want to. In their gradual attempt to be what society considers good, they run the risk of compromising their health. This is something that I posted about last week on social media. When a woman is single, she's constantly being told by the people around her Your standards are too high. You need to lower your standards. That's when you're going to get a man. That's when you're going to find somebody and you're going to be happy. So she lowers her standards and she marries someone. It turns out they're not the best person for her. They do a lot of things that make her unhappy. And when she discusses this with other people, they tell her, well, your standards were too low. Should have had higher standards. Does this sound familiar? Does it sound a little oxymoronic? Yeah, but this has been the status quo for decades and decades. I heard it all the time. Well, your standards are too high. What are you looking for? What do you expect? But if I were to sit now and complain about my marriage, I'd be told, well, maybe you should have held out for somebody different. Women cannot be right no matter what they do. And then when you are in a bad marriage, you're still encouraged to stay in there, stick with it. Well, he's a good man. He means well. He doesn't beat you. I've heard that. I've actually heard that. Well, he doesn't beat you. Oh, so that's the barometer we're holding men to now. You're just a good man by virtue of the fact that you don't beat women? It's a pretty low bar. So, as a psychologist, this man goes on to say, it can sometimes feel challenging to help clients take back their emotional and physical health when they are contending against a complex cultural system that is constantly reinforcing us to do the opposite. So what can we do? It needs to be a paradigm shift to understand that behind every emotion exists need. Anger, for example, can signify the desire to change our current circumstances. Rather than women treating our emotions as inconvenient bodily malfunctions best to be muted and ignored, we can teach ourselves to view them as windows of insight. Instead of casting away our anger, a valuable question we can ask ourselves in that moment of frustration is, what am I needing right now? Right? What do I need right now in this moment? Another practice is boundary setting. We hear a lot about boundaries, but do we really know what boundaries mean? For women who have been unconsciously taught, that's right, unconsciously taught, so conditioned to view our likability as our greatest asset, boundary setting can often feel counterintuitive. Many of us fear that if we honestly communicate our needs and limitations, this will threaten our relationships. But what ends up happening is when we do set healthy boundaries rather than toxic ones that can lead to us just building up this resentment to the point where we blow, our relationships actually become stronger and healthier. And having healthy relationships is integral to our physical well-being, that is. One analysis showed that people with more supportive social relationships have a 50% lower risk of premature death. So to reshape the virtues of womanhood, a new normal needs to emerge, one in which we honor our emotions, prioritize our needs, and actively communicate our boundaries. Now, such a shift requires change on both the individual and societal level and will by no means be easy, but it is worth it. After all, women's lives depend on it. And that is the final sentence of that article. But I want to stay with that for a moment. Women's lives depend on it. And it is so hard to combat this because of the shift it would require on the societal level. But we can't even begin to make a shift or a change until we start talking about it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm talking about it. I'm getting it out there. This is why you feel the way that you feel. This is why everything seems so overwhelming, so exhausting, and just plain too much. Because it is. It is too much. We are waking up to this now, and we all have to be talking about it. We all have to be pointing out that all of this time when we were judging women for having mental breakdowns, that we were just making the situation worse. That people, women, can only handle so much. And when you get to a breaking point, instead of thinking that's a weakness on the particular person, maybe look at all they have had to deal with for their entire lives. You know, we have to start shifting this status quo on making all problems that most women face the faults of women. It doesn't even make sense that it would fall on us, that we continue to make ourselves sick without trying to seek an answer, a solution to the problem. Because that's how it's been viewed in society for many years. Well, that's just women. You know, they just get overly anxious. They're just depressed a lot. Why, though? Why? Could it be because of the overwhelm that we feel in our lives? The exhaustion that we have every single day? The fact that we're not allowed to speak out and say one thing that wouldn't be agreeable without being, you know, labeled some sort of disruptive person? Because that's what's been going on for decades. And according to this article, it is literally making us sick and driving us to an early death. Now, this isn't the first time that we've heard stuff like this. Think about the fact that us women, we are operating in a world that is a Monday through Friday system when it comes to the work world. Men have been set up to work Monday through Friday, typical 9 to 5 hours. That is the norm. Women, with their hormonal balance, with their cycle, we are set up in a 28-day cycle. And in each of those cycle days, we are feeling something completely different from the day before. We could be feeling, you know, energetic and super productive one day, and then 2 days later, we are zapped of energy and we can barely get ourselves out of bed. And this is just due to the cause of how our bodies run on this 28-day cycle. If you ever done any research into how to use your cycle to be more productive, you will find that there are certain days and weeks of the month where things are much easier for you to do, and then days and weeks of the month where things are much more difficult for you to do. And that's not even talking about the fact or the time that you're actually having your flow, that you're actually experiencing your cycle. But women are still supposed to get out of bed, get the kids ready, do breakfast, make lunch, send the husband off to work, and then go to work herself when she's feeling exhausted, bloated, moody, crampy. And instead of applauding women for doing all of this while they're feeling this way, what do you hear from men? You make one snap judgment to somebody, and what do you hear? Oh, it's your time of the month. They throw it in our face like it's something horrible. Again, shaming us for a natural occurrence. We didn't have anything to do with this, because I can assure you, if we had a choice of whether to have a period or not, we would choose not. So why does it get thrown in our face that when we are still juggling and handling everything we are supposed to, when we are feeling moody and bloated and tired and in pain from cramps and having to run to the bathroom every couple hours to make sure that we're not leaking and having accidents. And we're not being applauded for this. Don't you think that we should be applauded for this? Don't you think that we should be put up on a pedestal and idolized for this? Because I sure do. But no, we're just bothersome to the men when we have our period. Ugh. What is it, your time of the month? Ugh. It's nothing that infuriates me more than when a man says that, because number one, he has no idea what we go through. And for him to sit there and judge is so callous. And like I said, we really should be celebrated for the fact that we are getting up and doing everything that we are expected to do while that is happening. And that is just the week of the actual cycle. The whole 28-day cycle, we are going through all kinds of hormonal changes. But again, does anybody take that into consideration? Did anybody think that maybe we should do this at this time of the month because it's better for women? No, because they don't care. They don't care to set up the world in a way that's easier for women. They have proven this over and over and over again. So why do you think that it is mostly women who are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication? Because the world is not set up for us, but yet we are the ones that have the highest amount of expectations placed on us. So we need to realize that we are the true heroes. We are the ones that keep the world running in spite of everything that happens to us, in spite of all of the demands that are thrown our way, no matter what is happening inside of us. We have to start changing that conversation to being why? Why are women less healthy? Why are women more depressed? Why do women have more anxiety? Why is there no compassion for a woman when she is going through her cycle? Because I am pretty sure that if men had a cycle, the world would be set up in a completely different way. Completely different way. To make it easy and comfortable for them. Because that's how this country and most of the world is set up, with the comfort and ease of men in mind. And there is example after example after example of this. So you need to stop self-silencing. You need to speak out. You need to say how you feel. Your health, your life literally depends on it. You know, I have this shirt, and it's got Ruth Bader Ginsburg on it. And it says, "Speak your mind, even if your voice shakes while you're doing it." And I wear this shirt often because it's so true. Yeah, the first time you speak up, you're going to be scared to death. But that will be the most scared you will ever be. And once you do it once and you don't die, and I guarantee you, you won't die, you will know that you have the power within you to speak up and say how you feel. And that will give you the confidence to do it again and again and again. And that's exactly how I got to where I am today. Gotten to the point where I say what I feel, and I don't care if people disagree with me. And I don't care if people don't like me for it. And I don't care what this means for my legacy of how people will remember me. because I want to be remembered as the person who had integrity, as the person who spoke out for what she believes in. And this process all started with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Once that happened and I realized that this country truly wants to go backwards and shackle women at home with babies that they don't want, that it was time to start speaking up for women. And once I made a couple of Facebook posts about it and I didn't die, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, maybe this is what I should be doing. And the more I looked into things, the more I realized how wrong and how the system is set up to be against us women. It's set up for men and their comfort and their ease, which puts the onus of everything else on us women. And that is patriarchy. And that is why we feel completely unfulfilled. That is why we feel exhausted and empty, because we've been forced into this role of wife, mother, what have you, because we have been taught by society that that is our role. And if you don't accept that role, then you are wrong. That's what we've been taught for hundreds of years. And now that we're starting to question that, we're getting a lot of pushback, because that's what happens. When you want to make real change in this world, people will not like it. People don't want anyone to rock the boat. And that's what I'm doing. I'm rocking the boat. I am speaking out. And people don't want to see that. They don't like it. It makes them nervous. They like the status quo. Well, they like the status quo if their life is going well. And this is, why I get a lot of pushback from women, which is truly astounding to me. I am doing nothing but speaking out for the rights of all women. And yet I've lost friends. I've gotten into arguments with family members. There's people that just don't want anything to do with me anymore because I'm fighting for the rights of women. Does that make any sense? No, but people don't like people that speak up, that stir the pot, that are difficult. And that's what I'm being, and that's what I will continue to be, because it doesn't matter to me if you think that I'm difficult, if you find me to be annoying, if you think that I'm a troublemaker. Good. Then my job is going well. I am succeeding. Because this is the only way that things will ever change in this country, is you need to speak up and speak out and change the gosh nab conversation. We have to stop going along with the status quo and start questioning everything. Because once you start to question one thing, it'll lead to another question and another question and another question. And you'll realize that the system has been set up against us this entire time. And it's never going to get any better unless we collectively stand up and say, no more. Maybe in 50 or 100 years, it won't be predominantly women who are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. One can only hope. But something's got to change. It's quite clear that women are in health crisis, mental health crisis, physical health crisis, dying younger than they're supposed to, because the amount of overwhelm and exhaustion and guilt that we feel constantly. So I want you to speak up for yourself. I want you to try it just that first time, just one time, because I'm pretty confident that once you do it once, you'll be brave enough to do it again and again and again. So this is my hope. This is my dream for women, that we can break free, to set ourselves free, to realize that we might not feel fulfilled, that is, and satisfied and happy because we may have been pushed into a role of wife and mother that wasn't necessarily the role that was intended for us. That might not have been the role we truly desired in our lives. And that we're still searching for what it is that will make us whole. And once you tear down these layers, and there are layers upon layers of patriarchy, you can start to discover your true self, the person, the 7-year-old girl that wanted to do whatever she wanted to do. But around that time, she started to get told, well, no, you're probably going to get married and have babies. So, think about that first. And then you can think about this other thing. Nope, let's start thinking about that other thing now. It is time. It is time to bring that 7-year-old's dreams and wishes back to the forefront. Because that is the thing that was always going to make you feel whole and satisfied and fulfilled. So once we rediscover what it is that 7-year-old girl wanted, we will start making our way to the life that was truly meant for us. If you want to do some work on this on a more individual level, I have a program that you can undergo that will help you peel away these layers of patriarchy to find the true you that has always been in there, just waiting, just biding her time, wanting to come out so bad. And we can find that girl. So if you are interested in that, please contact me. I am on all social media. You can find me at the Hopefulist or the _Hopefulist. My website is hopefulist.com. Please go check it out. And now I want you to go forward in the week knowing all that you know now. Be ready, willing, and able to speak up when you need to, and to stop silencing yourself. The world doesn't need one more silent person. The world needs somebody who is willing to go out on that ledge and fight for themselves and for others. And I know you can do that. I have faith in you. Now, go on out there and be badass. You know that I am right here cheering you on. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. Together, we are better. Please visit my website at hopefulist.com and remember to hit that subscribe or follow button.